Good evening, Des Moines. Welcome to the Doc and Lefty program here on webcast1live.com. Joining us tonight, we got a couple of guests, but with me, as always, is the big man on campus, Dr. Pat. Well, you know what? I screwed up the intro. Already. I'm Lefty, and really great to have you all with us. And with me, as always, the big man on campus, the good doctor himself. The doc is in. Dr. Patrick Prosch, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, and we got a heck of a show showing up for you tonight. We have Dave Russell, who is the shyster lawyer I talked about last week. By the way, Brad's son defended your characterization of being a shyster lawyer.
Well, just remember, everything that I learned as a lawyer, I learned from your dad.
And that's what I told Brad. And so... anyway, we have Dave Russell. He's running for city council. He's going to take the first half hour. And then we have Rob Elgin, and he's also running for Urbandale City Council. I want to make clear to everybody that invites were sent to all candidates, and these two responded. They all responded. These two accepted our invitation, so I'm very happy to have them here. Dave, what in the world makes you want to run for Urbandale City Council?
Well, Patrick, I've been a resident of Urbandale for 33 years, and during that 33 years, I've just come to love Urbandale. Urbandale's been a great community. I've raised a family in Urbandale. My son, Michael, graduated from Urbandale.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? Pull that microphone close to you. We just had somebody text say they can't hear you.
All right.
And you know what, Doc? Before we get too much further, I had somebody tell me today that they need to hear you better, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Well, that's strange because I'll scream right into the mic.
I
got a loud voice.
You got to eat the mic just like I do.
I got to eat the mic.
Take a bite out of it, huh?
All right, Now we have Dave Russell with us. Now we're going to start over again. What makes you want to run for Urbandale City Council?
Well, as I was saying, Pat, I've lived in Urbandale for 33 years. My wife, Mary, and I moved there just shortly after law school. And during the 33 years that we've lived in Urbandale, we've raised both our children. They've gone to school in Urbandale. My law firm, I established it in 1987 in Urbandale. And during my time in Urbandale, I've been appointed to various boards and commissions by the mayor. And I guess I got involved in city government through that. I started out, Mayor Zahn appointed me to the Urbandale Board of Adjustments. And that met every month, and we handled variances and conditional use permits. And I was on that board for 10 years. I spent the last 5 years as chairman. And then Mayor Andewig appointed me to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I was on that board for 5 years, and I was the chair of that for a year. And then recently, the mayor has appointed me to the Urbandale Civil Service Commission. So I think those boards and commissions that I've served on, I've really got to understand how Urbandale works and how the city works.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to live, and it's great working with the people in Urbandale.
All right. Now, again, we're with Dave Russell, running for City Council of Urbandale. Now, I know that you're a member of the Better Business Bureau, and the other thing I'm pretty sure I know is that your office is in Urbandale as well.
Yes, our office, we established the law firm of Abendroth and Russell in 1987 in Urbandale.
All right. And what are you going to do for Urbandale? What is your plan for Urbandale?
Well, Pat and Blake, as you know, Urbandale has really been a community that has enjoyed great growth over the last 33 years that I've lived there. And this has been orderly growth. This has been growth that has been spurred by both residential and commercial. And that growth, making it the city that it is, was done in large part because of people who have gone before us and laid a great foundation. I think of the mayor, E.J. Giovanetti. E.J. was the mayor out there for 20 years. I think of Don Brush. I think of Phil Noah. I think of so many other people who have just laid a great foundation. So my number one is just to continue to build on the great city and the great foundation that we have in Urbandale. My slogan, if you will, is just to continue to build on our city's success. But as far as priorities are concerned, I think the number one priority of any city government is to protect its citizens. And thus, you'll find that will be very strong in supporting the fire, police, and EMS services. As a matter of fact, I'm happy to announce that 3 days ago, I received a letter from the Urbandale Fire Department endorsing me as their choice for candidate for the city council.
No kidding. That's a pretty big endorsement.
And if you go to my website at russellforurbandalecitycouncil.com, you will see there's a copy of the letter that's been posted, along with several other endorsements that I have received from various civic leaders and organizations in Urbandale.
So again, we have Dave Russell right there on our flag. And who do you think is the most influential endorsement that you've received so far?
Well, I have received the endorsement of John Forbes. John Forbes is our state representative, and John held this seat for 2 terms. And as a matter of fact, John is one of the ones who encouraged me to run for this seat. So I have received his endorsement. I've also received the endorsement of Tom Gaiman, who is a city council member. I've received the endorsement of Mike Carver, who is a current city council member. And I've also received the endorsement of Creighton Cox, who is also a Urbandale city councilman. Urbandale, as you know, has 5 city councilmen, and there are 2 seats that are up for re-election.
Man, that's a pretty impressive list of people that have supported you, especially the Democrat that took over a seat held by Republicans for 14 years from Scott.
That's an interesting question, Pat. People ask, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Well, as you know, in Urbandale, we it's a nonpartisan. So the candidates and the mayor do not declare whether or not they are a Democrat or a Republican. There's a saying that we have in Urbandale, and that is, we do not vote Democrat, we do not vote Republican, we vote Urbandale. And I think that by having that working together has given Urbandale more of a civil sense when it comes to politics. All of us have adopted the character counts statement of principle in conducting our campaign. As you know, Scott Racker is the one who heads the Character Counts program for the state of Iowa. Scott's a friend of mine. Scott is one also who encouraged me to run for this seat, and Scott also, too, has endorsed me for the seat.
It's a pretty impressive list. Robert Stouffer, superintendent of the Des Moines Christian Schools, said he is a great man of God who listens well. I'm going to tell you that's pretty stout. And then, of course, super friend of the show, Brad Zahn, has endorsed you with a very good endorsement here. So this is quite impressive list. Again, we're with Dave Russell, who's running for Urbandale City Council. We're going to continue our conversation with him right after the break. Please stay tuned. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
Petrosh & Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh & Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're here with Urbandale City Council candidate David Russell, and first of all, David, really appreciate you being here today. We really enjoy having, especially people who are running for office. What date's the election? November.
November the 5th. It's just a week from today.
A week from today. That would make sense. It being a Tuesday in November and all. And I gotta ask you, how are people, just give us some information about how people get to the polls, if they need to know where they need to vote, where can they find that information? Do you have links on your website?
Yes, and what I'm telling people to do, the first thing, if you're uncertain as to where do you vote, if you go to the Polk County Auditor and you just go to their website, there's a link for you to click on and just type in your address, and it will tell you the precinct and where the voting poll is. Polls open at 7 o'clock and they go to 8 o'clock a week from today.
Sure. So you mentioned before that the board, the city council is not a partisan body, and the mayor is not a partisan election. So do you find that sort of personal relationships are more important, or I'm sure there's still partisan approaches just from everybody's background and experience that play into city politics?
Yeah, I think that it's probably in Urbandale. It would be more on the relationship that each of us have with one another. Working on the Urbandale Board of Adjustments and working on the Planning and Zoning Commission. There were times where there were other people on the board that I knew would be perhaps of a different political persuasion than I am, but yet we didn't let those politics get in the way of us making the best decision for the city of Urbandale. So
you've been a resident of Urbandale for 33 years, and you have been a small business owner in Urbandale for, doing the math in my head, but 26 years. That's a long time.
Yes.
And that's a long time with solid roots in the community. And I'm wondering, and you've been on all kinds of boards, and I imagine that those are mostly public appointments that you've received from different people.
Yes.
So why city council? Why now?
Well, I believe that I have spent the last 16 years serving on various boards and commissions that have allowed me the opportunity to understand how city government works. I've enjoyed over the last 16 years working with our city legal staff. I have worked with the city manager. I have worked with the Parks and Recreation folks. I've worked with Public Works. I have worked with the Community Development Director. And so I understand how Urbandale works. One of my best probably exposures working in Urbandale and with the city is I am the past president of the Urbandale Chamber of Commerce. And being in that position has allowed me to see this great working relationship between the city and the Chamber of Commerce. They are truly partners in their efforts for economic development in Urbandale. I'm sure most of your listeners might be aware that Urbandale has the uniquely Urbandale logo. Yes. And that logo is shared by the school, the chamber, and the city, showing how the three of them are united in their approach of working together. And of course, all three have adopted the 6 principles of character counts.
So you've been around for a while. You've established that, and you've been an active member, not just a resident and a business owner, but an active member in the community. And so I'm sure that the voters out there and your constituents, they know who you are and they know what you stand for. But if you can indulge me, for the folks that might not know, or for new residents that are voting for their first time in Urbandale, I want to go over maybe a little bit of a kind of a job interview of sorts. And it's sort of kind of talk about what maybe your top 3, say that you're elected on November 5th. What are your top 3 initiatives, like specific initiatives that you are going to bring to the table as the new city council person?
Well, as I said, I believe that the city government's number one priority to its citizens is to protect them. Mm-hmm. So you will find that I will be a very strong supporter of the police, fire, and EMS services. Currently, Urbandale's police force is a full-time force of approximately 49 officers. Federal statistics or federal guidelines provide that a city should have about 1.5 officers per 1,000 of population. I met and spoke with Chief Ross McCarty a couple of weeks ago just to sit down with Ross over coffee to ask him, how is the police force? What are the things that you need? How are things going? And by and large, he feels he's adequately staffed. One of the things that's helped him immensely is he has continued to beef up the reserve program. Currently, there are 12 reserve officers for the city of Urbandale, and I'm happy to report that my son Michael is an Urbandale Police Reserve officer, and he's went through. It's incredible the extensive training that he has to go through as a reserve officer.
Now, I guess I wasn't aware that Urbandale had a reserve officer program, and maybe some of our listeners wouldn't be very familiar with that. Now, is a reserve officer, they get the full stripes, they get to do everything that a full-time police officer gets to do, or would they require, say, a full-time police officer to ride along with them in some kind of role if they were to take, say, a routine traffic stop, for example?
My son went through well over 80 hours of training just on the firing line alone, and he attended all of the classes at the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy up in Ankeny, up at Camp Dodge, that they put all the guys through, and it's a continuing. It is a continuing training process that those Urbandale officers go through. So he does ride along. He does the patrols right along with the reserve officers, another reserve officer, or a full-time policeman. That's very interesting. Now, Doc mentioned our super friend of the show, Brad Zahn, Urbandale alum. I think he's still living in Urbandale over there.
Oh yeah, he just lives
obviously
down the road.
Since he's the state senator.
Yeah, because Dave lives up the road. Brad lives down the road.
Hey, and you're right in the middle of everything.
I am
stirring the pot with your fingers and the whole business.
Everything.
So, and we know that that Senator Zahn is a big voice when it comes to traffic cameras around the state and in various communities. And you might not have known this, but the reason the Doc and I know each other is I used to live across the street from his house up in the Colby Woods for a little over a year. Yep. Right when I was finishing up with law school. And so I know the area pretty well, and I'm familiar with the community, and I want to get your position on. And I know there are no traffic cameras. Oftentimes, every once in a while there's a checkpoint there in Hickman right before you turn into the Colby Woods. Every once in a while they have a checkpoint up there, but there are no traffic cameras. And so I'm wondering, do you take the position that traffic cameras would be consistent with your pledge to increase or to at least take on the initiatives of protecting the citizenry, or are you more on the side of they're kind of a boondoggle to raise money for the city? I think all anyone has to do is take a look at Clive and look at that mess that they have over there with their red light and their speed cameras. Because of the installation that they've had, the city of Clive has become financially dependent upon the revenue that they receive from the red light cameras. Number two, I was one of the unfortunate ones that got zapped making a right-hand turn on a red, and I got one of those little love notes in the mail. You know what surprised me about that, Doc? And that was that when I had to write that check out, the check was mailed to someplace in Ohio. That's what Senator Zahn has said a lot. It doesn't say in the because the 50% of the revenues goes out to that place. Yeah, and so why are we supporting 50% of the revenue for the state of Ohio? Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I completely agree with this. So we have about 20 seconds. Okay, so we'll get to the next 2 points after the break. But we have David Russell running for City Council in Urbandale, and Doc, if you've got anything that you want to plug before we go to the break. Well, no, we'll just be back right after the break. Listen to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittiesusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back to the Doc and Lefty program. We're certainly happy to have you all listening here on a Tuesday. Remember, we're here every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. following the Fallon Forum. We certainly do appreciate Ed Fallon and all he does for the studio and for the public discussion that we enjoy having each and every week. And we'll certainly want to thank all of the sponsors for the studio for Webcast One. They keep the lights on and they keep our producers well fed and trim. Anyway, we're sitting here with David Russell running for Urbandale City Council, and we're having we have a couple of things the Doc mentioned to me over the break that we need to talk about that are more specific to Urbandale. But I wanted to finish up our discussion about the kind of the three top bullet points that Dave would bring to the city council if he were elected on November 5th. And remember that circle that date in your calendars, because it's very important to vote in every election, especially local elections, because those are the people that have the greatest impact on your lives as members of the community. So we heard from you, Dave, about your commitment to public safety and police, firefighter, and EMS. And I was wondering what your second point was.
I think it's important that Urbandale continue to have a planned infrastructure maintenance and expansion while providing effective public services to our residents. As I knock on the doors of the citizens of Urbandale, and I've knocked over 1,500 doors since I started in this campaign, and what I hear people tell me is that they are very happy with the services that Urbandale has provided for them. No one seems to have a real axe to grind. They're very happy about Urbandale, the roots that they have planted there with their family over a number of years, and they just believe that Urbandale really meets their needs. However, on the east side of Urbandale, they are having some flooding issues because of the stormwater.
How come this stuff always happens on the east side? That's all I want to know.
It happens on the southeast side, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Urbandale is going to have to undergo a comprehensive stormwater sewer replacement program. And in the CIP program, over the next number of years, they are going to have to go and replace literally blocks and blocks of sewer and water upgrades. So I think it's important, and one of the things I want to make sure is that we oversee that planned expansion, and that we can take and make sure that whenever we get a 2-inch rain deluge over on the east side of Urbandale, and it all runs to the bottom of Prairie Avenue and points south, that we have adequate stormwater to be able to take care of those problems.
It sounds like a pretty serious thing. And speaking of water, I know that Doc had a couple of questions about some of the issues with the water utility.
Yeah. Now, I know politicians love to use the word fees euphemistically as a cover word for taxes. And what I know is my water bill's going up. There are more fees almost every time I look at it. I know when Brad Zahn was mayor, they reduced a lot of taxes. We're in balance. And it seems like today, every time I turn around, there's a new fee for water, new fee for this service, for that service, all this other things. And as I look at the people that are running the council now, I look at this and they say, oh, well, here's something new we can spend money on. Now, my question to you is, Dave, what are you going to do to start rolling back some of these fees? What are you going to do to start rolling back some of these taxes and get Urbandale in much better financial shape?
Well, I join with you, Doc, in just I'm appalled at the fees that we have on our water bill. As a small business owner, I have to pay that water bill every month at my office, as well as I do at home. And these fees just keep popping up for various needs. And I've been told that the reason for the fees is that if it's a property tax increase, since there are so many people or so many businesses and nonprofits churches, et cetera, that are using the water system, that if there's fees that have been incurred and is actually tacked onto the water bill, then these other entities will actually pay a share of that. Whereas if you just raise the property taxes, since they pay no property taxes, then they are not assessed a fee.
So it's a way to get at the businesses that are exempted from taxes in the first place.
Yes.
All right. So what are you going to do to start rolling back some of these fees that hit us? I mean, not only do I have to pay property taxes, now I have to pay more in water bills.
Well, number one, I think we need to be transparent in those fees, because they just kind of showed up on our water bill, and there was really no explanation as to what they were for.
Okay.
So I think that we need to be a little more transparent with.
Because Des Moines got in a lot of trouble for these fees.
Well, yeah, the franchise fees.
And so I guess my question is I understand we need to be more transparent, but great, we're transparent, but what are you going to do to roll it back? Are you going to introduce something that says, hey, listen, we need to start reducing these fees?
Well, I think that every year we need to take a sharp pencil, take a look at these budgets, and we need to find out, why do we need these fees? What is it, and where's the revenue going? How much revenue is being raised, number one, and number two, where's the revenue going and for what purpose?
All right.
Now, I just mentioned about that the city's going to have to undertake this horrendous stormwater replacement program over the next number of years. And I'm sure that some of those fees but
why can't you do a bond issue for that? Have the citizens of Irvindale vote to see if they want to have the East Siders be flooded all the time or not. I mean, that would be my take.
Well, that certainly is an option.
All right. Now, the other question I have is I don't quite understand what this tax increment financing stuff is, but I know that California has gotten into a lot of trouble with that. There's a lot of cities that are in trouble for this tax increment financing. Is there anything like that in Urbandale? And if it is, can you explain to me what exactly it is? And because from what I know, limited amount I know, it doesn't sound like a good idea. It sounds like you're taking future taxes that you don't even have yet and going, well, this is what we're going to build with them.
Yeah, my understanding is that there are 6 TIF, as they're called, districts in Urbandale. The one I'm familiar with is the one up on North Park, up by the Texas Roadhouse. And that's in a TIF district, as they call it.
Why would that be in a TIF district?
Well, my understanding is that when that office park is built south of North Park Road, then the monies, the taxes that would be generated from those businesses will be used for infrastructure and be used for the development of that corridor on North Park.
Do you support TIFs?
Yes, I think the TIFs, if they're properly managed and properly targeted, are a good financing way to stimulate economic development in a particular area of the city. From
what I understand, these are supposed to be for areas that probably wouldn't be developed. Urban blight and other issues like that, like down on MLK, you now have all those nice houses along there. Well, that was urban blight. Well, out there by Texas Roadhouse, they don't need any help out there. I mean, that was going to be developed anyway. This is one of the criticisms I've read about TIFs is that governments abuse them.
Well, also, I believe that the state legislature has actually cut back on the ability to use a TIF.
All right.
With legislation in the last year or so.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up our half hour with Dave Russell. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Our listeners appreciate it. You can find out more about Dave at, let me get the website here, russellforurbandalecitycouncil.com. The Chamber of Commerce asked him a bunch of questions. He gave her a lot of really good answers. Dave, is there anything else you want to say before we take a break?
Well, I just want to say that I have spent the past 16 years serving the city government in Urbandale, and I think that has prepared me for this next step to be on the city council. If you look at the different boards and commissions that I've been on, I think that gives me a unique insight to the position on the city council that the other 2 candidates, quite frankly, do not have. And I think also I'm a small business owner and the other 2 candidates are not. And I think that gives me a unique understanding of how businesses work and operate in our community. when you start signing the front side of a paycheck and you begin to navigate through some of the red tape and bureaucracy that small businesses have to operate in a city, I think that gives you a unique understanding and certainly a perspective that I have in how our city government should respond to the small businesses in our community.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Dave, for showing up. Next up, we have Rob Elgin, who's also a candidate for Urbandale City Council. Don't forget to get out and vote next November 5th. You're listening to Doc and Lefty. We'll be back right after the break. You're listening to us on webcast1live.com.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Doc and Lefty program. Thanks a lot for sticking around for the second half hour. We've got our second and the Urbandale City Council election extravaganza. We've got our second candidate for the two empty seats. We got three guys running. Two showed up. I believe that's the math, if I'm not mistaken. But we got Rob Elgin with us today. We had Dave Russell the first half hour, Rob Elgin for the second half hour, and he's been kind enough to spend some time with us again. Rob, say hi to everybody.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me on. Appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, not a problem. So, Rob, you kind of, if you were in the studio or kind of listening to how the last one goes, you know that. Tell us a little bit about yourself from the just kind of a biographical sketch of you as a candidate.
Sure. Moved to Urbandale, 20 plus years ago. I was a police officer for 10 of those years, from 1986 to 1996. My family and I, again, have lived here for years and years. 2 daughters in high school, and born and raised here, obviously. So it's
just get right up there close to the mic. We have problems.
Grab that and just put it right in your grill. So you've
I don't think Rob has a grill.
So you've been around in the community for a long time,
quite a while
at this point. And so what are you doing now?
Right now, I am a IT manager out at a company called NCMIC, National Chiropractic Mutual Insurance Company.
Okay.
A company out in Clive. Been there about 8 years.
Sure.
That's that brand new. Yeah, I know what one it is.
Sure.
It's that brand new. Yeah.
About
over there by
142nd
Texas Road
University.
out.
Yes. Yeah, out that way.
So
Good company.
you heard me ask Dave. You've been in Urbandale for a long time.
Correct.
You raised a couple of kids.
Mhm.
You sent them to the Urbandale Public High School.
Right.
Great public high school, by the way.
Yes, they enjoy it.
And you were as a police officer, and you've been a volunteer, and it looks like you've been on different boards and appointed by different people. So why now? Why city council?
Sure, a good question. Well, for years and years, I've been involved with the city, whether as a coach, a police officer, serving on different boards. This seemed like the next logical step. I want to stay involved with the city. I've always admired the job that the council's done. They set the bar very high, and this seemed like a good next step for me to take.
So we learned a little bit about the makeup of the board. There's 5 members, and
Right.
the board. And I was surprised to learn this. I didn't know when I lived in Urbandale for about a year. I didn't ever come across this fact, but that the mayor and the city council don't have a partisan affiliation when they get elected. There's nothing declared on the ballot. And I asked Dave about sort of how that affects personal dynamics. I'm going to ask you. There's a partisan approach to everything. That's just the reality.
Right.
And so I wonder and without disclosing your partisan affiliation,
Okay.
how will you be able? Do you think that you'll be able to navigate those waters? Do you have any experience in partisan politics?
Yes.
Just kind of give us some of that background.
Sure, I understand. That's a good question. It's important because as we've seen in our country, the parties are so divisive. You have Democrat, you have Republican. You don't have much in between. There's the two extremes, and it's a shame because so much. We've seen government shutdowns. We've seen the common people like myself being held hostage in some ways. We need to get past that, and I feel I bring some of that ability to as a candidate for the council. The idea that I've sat down and talked with the mayor, each one of the councilmen. I've met with many members of the city staff, talked with the police and fire as well, and I'm good at bridging gaps like this.
Sure. And I was before we get into some of the more nuts and the bolts. There's a question I was thinking about asking Dave, but I think we've got another guy that knows the area really well, and so bear with me.
My God, we only have so much time.
Bear with me. And
Fire
maybe
away.
I'll fire this question off, and then probably time for a word from our next sponsor. So I've always gotten the sense from hanging out with Urbandale people, there's a little bit of a friendly rivalry between Urbandale and Clive. They're kind of really close together. 86th Street goes through both,
right.
And a lot of businesses kind of shared across the border. Now, Clive has had a problem of being completely engulfed by West Des Moines, Urbandale, Des Moines. It's
Landlocked, sure.
Clive is completely landlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Urbandale has been moving west and north as it's expanded.
Right.
But you got Grimes to the west, you got Johnston to the north, you got a little bit of that area in that northwest corner of Urbandale, the newer developments out there north of Meredith and going further west of the interstate. And I'm wondering, is Urbandale in danger of having the same fate?
Well, at some point, yeah, you can only expand so much before you butt up against another city or another development, of course, yeah. But I know that the council has signed agreements as they move west so that some of our future lands are protected. They've taken strong measures to protect future interests. And I know that you mentioned a few minutes ago, Lefty, about the idea of the competition between Clive and Urbandale. And I would agree. There is a competition, especially when it comes to securing new business. Mm-hmm. We have the stretch along the Interstate 3580 that we're developing now. Hats off to the Urbandale City Council for the way they've managed this. The stretch that we have there is a terrific opportunity for new business growth, and we'll see Urbandale well into the next 10, 15, 20 years. Great opportunities there.
Sure.
All right, we're going to be back right after the break. We have Rob Elgin, who's running for Urbandale City Council, with us today. Please tune in. We're going to have more of a conversation with him. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're sitting here with Rob Elgin, candidate for the Urbandale City Council election that happens next Tuesday, November 5th. We heard that earlier that the polls open at 7 a.m., that they closed at 8 p.m. Before I kick this over to my partner in crime here, Rob, I got to ask you, do you have any get out the vote campaign? You be door knocking? What are you going to be doing?
Yes, quite a bit of door knocking over the last, 2.5, 3 months. I've got an excellent committee that's been helping me. We've done some phone calls. Again, the door knocking. We've got some other things planned in the next week. A big blitz to try and get the name out.
Very good. Now, I see on your literature that you were kind enough to provide us that you got taxes big and bold at the top of your list. Now, my BFF forever. That's best friends forever. In case the kids at home are wondering about that, and I say that intentionally because forever for him means tax-free forever. And I gotta wonder, Doc, I'm sure you got some questions for Rob about his ideas about taxes and how they are going to affect the city going forward.
Well, absolutely. First of all, I want to ask who's endorsed you so far?
I've got endorsements from the AFL-CIO, and
there you go.
Yeah. Oh my God, we know what side of the fence he's on.
I've got to know. Yeah.
Oh my
Another
God.
union that's helping me out. But I've also got. We would talk about some of the existing city council. Credit to Mike Carver. He encouraged me to run in the first place, and I've got a lot of encouragement from the mayor and the other council members as well. Have sat down with all of them, talked with them on the phone. John Forbes as well has been very supportive. Brad Zahn has helped out quite a bit. We talked a little bit earlier about how we want to bridge the Democrat-Republican thing. These guys have been great, and I'd like to think that I helped play a role with that too, because Urbandale, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we had our chamber luncheon. You don't vote Democrat, you don't vote Republican, you vote Urbandale. And that's something I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and it's been used since then, but that's been my approach and the kind of a bipartisan approach to my campaign. My team, equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats, and it's been a real good fit.
All right. So what are your issues? What are the issues that you are going to focus on during your term in office?
Sure. One of the first ones, again, I was a police officer for 10 years. I've got a better understanding than any other candidate what the issues are there. I understand the idea of being understaffed. We had that problem years ago. Chief McCarty has done a terrific job in helping to bring the force up to speed or up to strength as much as possible. He applied for and received a Department of Justice grant back in 2011, helped him hire 2 additional officers. Their Department of Justice statistics measure police per 1,000. We want to see 1.5 officers per 1,000 in Urbandale. We were at 1.19. Now we're at 1.24. We're getting there, but we have to support these guys. Same is true for the fire department. They need our help because we got 2 of the best crews talking about fire and police anywhere, but we've got to help them out.
Absolutely. Now you talk about the I-80/35 interstate corridor expansion. Why is that important?
That's a good question. A couple of different things. First of all, it brings needed economic growth to Urbandale. I'd heard talk earlier about tax incremental funding. TIF funding is important. That's one of the two ways in which we fund city projects. The second are government obligation bonds. TIF money is probably 40 to 50% of our funding. We have to keep new sources of TIF money coming in. If we have just a minute, it works like this. You take undeveloped property, you freeze it at a certain cost, you develop that property, it has a new value to it, and the company or the firms, the businesses that moved in are taxed at 100% evaluation. And Urbandale collects some of the difference between that undeveloped and developed property value, and that goes into funding projects and maintaining services, parks, trails, that sort of thing. Very important for Urbandale to keep going.
All right. Now, one of the things I was talking with Dave about is it seems like what this TIF really is taking money you don't have and gambling with it that, everything will work out right, which seems like a very, irresponsible thing on my end. I'll just say it how it is.
All right.
So I don't understand. I understand why politicians love it, because that gets them votes. They go out, they spend this great amount of money, say it'll improve it. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is there really isn't a blighted part of Urbandale. And from what I understand, that this is for areas of urban blight. And up there by Texas Roadhouse, that's stuff that's going to be, developed anyway. So basically you're just out there, gambling that everything's going to turn out all right.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but bear in mind that it's a pot that we have to continue feeding into, in a sense that
so it's a Ponzi scheme.
No, I don't want to say that. But TIFs have a certain life period. Most of the TIF areas in Urbandale run about 20 years, and we have a couple of the older ones that don't have definite periods of life, but they don't have the business in them. And when we talk about blighted, we only sense Urbandale doesn't have too many blight areas at all, in the sense that we have housing that needs improvement. But when a city planner would look at a blighted area and he would see that there aren't too many businesses there. So there isn't too many TIF opportunities for money at 100% valuation to come in to feed the TIF funds, if that makes sense.
So what are you going to do since you brought up jobs, how are you going to bring in businesses and jobs? What are you going to do to help with that?
Let's bump back to the I-35-80 corridor idea. New businesses coming in there, we have to be competitive. If we don't get those businesses, somebody else will. And so we want to develop that. TIF money comes into that. We use some of the TIF money to entice new businesses to come in. But I want to say this. We use some of that TIF money to maintain the business we have, too. We don't want to keep moving ahead without occasionally looking back and remember the businesses that got us where we're at.
All right. Now, I'm going to say this in fairness to Rob. I didn't ask Dave this next question, but I'm going to ask Rob this one. And it's what this sounds like to me is you're taking tax money and buying businesses. You're giving them tax break, giving them these things. So essentially you're picking winners and losers, which is, as a thing from a conservative viewpoint, isn't very good. No, hold on. Let him answer. Let him answer. Oh, Lefty's chewing at the bit on this one. Like I said, this question isn't fair because I didn't ask Dave Russell this one. So I appreciate Rob. And in fact, Rob, if you don't want to answer it, don't.
I'll give it a shot. Tell me what was the question here, though, Doc?
The basically it sounds like you support TIF,
I do.
It sounded like Dave supported TIF, but it sounds like the government way of robbing taxes to bring in favored businesses. And I guess is that correct or is that incorrect?
You're correct in the sense that TIF money comes from improved valuations that comes from business taxes. I agree with that. Now, you think about the state property tax reform that's just been passed, that's a 10% rollback. So that means that businesses taxed at 100% now most likely will be taxed at 90%. That's good in some senses. I mean, it means more opportunities for business. They're not paying as much. But on the other hand, it means that city coffers are going to have to look for other sources for their money.
All right.
And if you remember when we talked about that, the property tax rollback months and months ago, where I'd made the point that city councils all over from Carlisle to Des Moines to Urbandale, everywhere were screaming about this.
Yeah.
That it was the cities had a problem with it.
We're here with Rob Elgin. We're going to be back right after the break. We're going to continue our conversation. Looks like Lefty and I are going to be squaring off during the break. Too bad you guys can't see that. We'll be back. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertrocheandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Welcome back, everybody. We're in the home stretch here with our second guest of the evening, Rob Elgin, running for Urbandale City Council. Rob is a former police officer. The city's been a resident and a community activist for a long, long time. Remember, if you notice, I said activist, not organizer. This guy had and this is for you, Doc. This guy had a real job. Anyway,
well, I'm glad
all my lefty Democratic friends just kind of take that in the spirit with which it was offered. I got to give my partner Got to give my partner over here a bone every once in a while. But Rob, we really appreciate having you.
I'm grateful for the chance. Thank you.
And before I kick it back over to Doc, what would be one quick thing that you would say to the folks out there listening who might be residents of Urbandale to kind of encourage them to get out and not just vote for you, but just to vote in general?
Sure, yeah. Good question. We're not, this election won't show up on CNN. It's not a national election by any means. The mayor's unopposed, which I'm sure will mean that the turnout will be even lower. But folks, believe me, what happens at the local level influences your lifestyle as much, if not more, than anything that happens nationally. We're voting on things like the 3580 interchange, police services, fire services. The CIP is loaded with line items that you should be interested in. It pays to vote because, again, so much of what goes on that affects us is going to be decided at this level.
You mentioned the CIP. That was also something that Dave mentioned.
Yes.
Doc, I know that you got some thoughts on this.
Like I was talking with Dave about, it seems like every day I'm getting some new fee, otherwise known as a tax, unless you're a politician, in which case it's known as a fee, on my water bill, on everything. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I get something from Urbandale, it's got a new fee on it. And Dave explained, and I'm sure you have the same opinion, it's a way to kind of get those that aren't paying taxes, property taxes, that's at least a way to help them pay for these other services that they get. So my question to you is I'm sick and tired of paying these taxes, because not only do I have to pay my property taxes, now I got to pay all these other taxes.
Right.
And you can call it a fee all you want. So what are you going to do to, one, get the budget of Urbandale under control, and two, to get it to roll back these fees and taxes?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I've noticed some changes in my water bill as well. The first thing, and this is not answering your question, but I think it's something that we need to do is...
Well, that's very political of you.
Yeah.
He's great.
He's awesome.
We have to understand why this is happening. Water bills have been sneaking up on us, and I for one would be curious as to where that money is going. So if elected, I would make a point of that we as residents have a better idea of why the water bill is bumping up. Now you ask about what it is we can do to keep taxes down. Understand this, the levy rate in Urbandale is second only to Altoona in central Iowa, 2 of the lowest property tax rates here in central Iowa. And we're close to Altoona, but we don't have a Prairie Meadows in our backyard that is such a huge source of funds for Altoona. But we come close. And part of that comes from careful planning by the city council and careful management of obligation bonds.
And increasing the fees. I mean, honestly, I'm really irritated by this. So I'm really going to get back to what are you going to do to start rolling these things back? Now, you just said you'd be more transparent, which
Right.
you and Dave agree on.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like is it says, I believe residents are looking for limits here. I know I am in regarding to taxes.
Right.
I want to know what you're going to do to reduce taxes in Urbandale, because simply raising other taxes and not property taxes, you're still paying more in tax.
Sure. I don't want to feed Peter or steal from Peter to feed Paul. I understand. And I'm a middle class guy. I pay taxes too, and I don't want to see them go up. When you look at the water bill taxes, you have to look at, if we're going to bring those down, chances are we're going to have to cut some services somewhere. Now, as you look at the 2013-2018 CIP that was just adopted, there are a couple of issues out there that I would like to see us draw a line on. One of them is this idea of the Douglas Avenue beautification. It's got a $12 to $14 million price tag. And as you look at it on paper, it's beautiful. It stretches out from eastern part of Urbandale, runs along Douglas Avenue, of course, goes all the way out past 142nd Street. And it tells a story as you go east to west, the different stages of Urbandale. It looks very nice until you get to the last page, and then you see the price tag. I do not want to see something like that instituted, at least at that price, because it's just too much. They're talking about an LED scoreboard at 86 in Douglas. As a former police officer, I just cringe because I think of all the accidents going to happen as people are looking to see what's going on in Urbandale.
Scoreboard.
Yeah,
Sorry. That kind of snapped me out of
Yeah.
looking at the literature. You know, I think how many? We probably don't have a lot of time left.
We got about 3 minutes.
Let's talk more.
But I gotta tell you, Rob, that I think that there's a storm drain or some service areas on a house on 78th Street that
could
probably
use
be
some work.
avoided. They could
Yeah.
probably kind of just avoid that whole.
It took me
little
4
area.
years to get used to people running over that damn manhole cover. I'm telling you what, it sounded like a gunshot. It was awful.
It was. It absolutely was. And I think I almost broke my hand on the snow shovel trying to get my ice off that thing.
Yep. So, so I'm glad. Basically, you're saying that you're not for that project, because I'm not for that project either.
No.
You know, the downtown area is nice, but there's no reason to have that the entire way down. All the distractions, it's not like people going to walk along and go, hey, Urbandale's this great place. It's not like Deadwood or Sturgis or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Wild Bill Hillcock didn't get shot there.
Yeah.
So, basically, you're basically saying, listen, even though you have these endorsements from the other side, that you're going to be pretty fiscally responsible with
Correct,
this.
yeah.
Now, how are you going to be able to handle a very popular guy like Mayor Andewig when he wants to, spend a little bit more than he should? How's that going to happen?
Well, talk with Mayor Andewig, and he is reflective of the council. I don't want to speak for him, of course, but I know he takes that fiscally responsible approach too. If projects like the Douglas Avenue beautification come up, I've got to vote in this council if elected. And it as it stands right now with that price tag as it is, my vote would be no. It's just too expensive. I would like to add, too, that I did meet with Downtown Urbandale Neighbor Association, the Duna Group, a couple of weeks ago. Had a long talk with them, and they're curious. They want to see that part of Urbandale develop, because sometimes we run into this 80-35 divide. You have a new Urbandale and old Urbandale, and we need to focus on all of Urbandale.
Yes, all right. Now, is there anything else you want to say before we leave?
No, I appreciate your letting me come on the show. I'd focus on the services that we have if elected, police and fire. With 10 years of background there, I've got a unique perspective that the other candidates don't bring. We talk about merging services, another way to keep costs in line. Last, I'd look to not only entice new business with a 3580 development, but also support our existing business.
All right, great. This was Rob Elgin. Oh, you want to tell people what your website is?
Oh, yes, yeah. www.elginforurbandale.org.
Elgin is spelled E-L-G-I-N.
Yes, and see us on Facebook, too.
Yes, and so thanks a lot, Rob, for showing up. I really appreciate all the time you spent with us today and all the honesty with your answers and taking some pretty tough questions. I think this gives our listeners a pretty good idea of what kind of man you are and what you're made of. So again, thanks for coming on. Lefty,
I appreciate it very much.
I got a show coming up on November 9th at Ducktail and Clive, and that's about it.
All right. Now, the Polk County GOP is having their Rob Kelly fundraiser on November 7th. Rick Perry and the other person just flew right out of my head. Anyway, polkgop.com, I hope, is where you can get tickets. You can contact Daryl Carney or polkgop.com or call 280-6438. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll be covering the election. Don't forget it's November 5th. Get out and vote. You're listening to Doc and Lefty. We'll be back next week on webcast1live.com. Same time.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Get over here. Love both of them.